Many people struggle with living from the end, especially if that desire is something that they have not experienced before. And this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this week's video. I'm going to take you through this teaching and an understanding of why there is no fiction. I'll be talking you through how to apply the 3-step process. This is Fazila Bijo, and welcome to the Inner Work Mastery channel, where I help you explore, understand, and practice teachings for manifestation and reality creation as taught by great minds and mystics like Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, Florence Scovel Shinn. But it is not just about reality creation and manifestation, because ultimately this is about awakening to the I am presence within. But a very important thing that I want to touch on in this week is from chapter 4, There is no fiction, from the book, The Law and the Promise. Now, the Law and the Promise helps us with many of the case studies of successes that Neville's students achieved. This book was written in 1961, and those case studies are very vital in terms of us actually understanding how we can become better at our manifestation and reality creation. This week's episode, E.O.L. Jr. had written into Neville, and he speaks about how he went from being just a dance instructor at the age of 19 to owning his own business by the age of 24. I'm going to take you through this teaching and an understanding of why there is no fiction. Because once you can get this fundamental, you'll understand how you can live from the end. You'll also understand how to apply the great many processes that Neville has taught. If you're not familiar with this channel, or you don't know that I have a specialized masterclass which will teach you about revision, but it will also teach you how to apply the other principles and processes that Neville taught in his many books and lectures. In this week, I'll be talking you through how to apply the 3-step process E.O.L. Jr. talks about in his testimonial to Neville. There are 3 steps that you must apply, and they may be simple. We must practice these steps until we become mastered at these processes and principles. We must persist. We can only achieve what we persist in. In this week's video, I'm going to cover this teaching that Neville talks about, which is nothing is fictional. When you see how effortless this is, you too can apply these steps so that you create the desires you wish to have in your life. So I will cover the 3 steps that you must apply and you must master, and you can then apply it for any wish or desire that you wish to see manifested in your life. In next week's video, I'm going to bring to life this case study. The distinction between what is real and what is imaginary is not one that can be finally maintained. All existing things are, in an intelligible sense, imaginary. And this is a quote by John S. Mackenzie. And it's something that Neville quotes in this chapter. What this says is, for us to actually try and hold on to what is real and what is imaginary cannot be sustained, and which is actually a good thing. Neville makes the point, and he demonstrates that there is no fiction. If an imaginal activity can produce a physical effect, our physical world must essentially be imaginal. Now, it means that when we observe our imaginal activities, we can see whether or not they produce a corresponding external effect. And if they do, then we must conclude that there is no fiction. Now, fiction is any type of creative work about an individual, events, or places that are seen as imaginary or in ways that are imaginary. We know that through revision and the process of revision and the law of assumption, that what we think is real and what we think is imaginary are actually brought about through our imagination. Now, the law of assumption says that imagination is the cause of the physical effect in our lives. When we talk about revising the past, we are in fact using the faculty of imagination to step into the memory of the event, and we change how we experience the event. We change the memory of it such that then we go into the past, change what was held in the past, because that past has an effect in our present. And when we rewrite what is going on in our present, it actually has an effect into the future. Everything in this world was first imagined. Everything started out with a thought, which turned into a feeling, which then became a belief, and it became an assumption, which is something that is taken for granted without evidence. So, is there really anything that is imaginary? So, what is really true? Anything in your life first started out at the level of the energy of it, the thought of it, then the feeling. And therefore, as you believe it to be true, it becomes true into your external reality. Imagination is the cause of any physical effect in our lives. Because today's imaginal drama, which is fiction, creative work, becomes tomorrow's fact when we consent and we accept it as true. It won't matter whether you desire it or not. If there's a strong feeling, if there is an assumption, it becomes hardened into fact. The cause of the phenomena of life is not karmic. It is not karma. The cause of the phenomena of our life is mental. It is not physical. The sooner we become aware of this, the quicker we realize that we are responsible as creators for all that goes on in our lives. And therefore, it is our responsibility to imagine only the best imaginable for us, for everyone else, and for the rest of the world. Because the drama of life originates in the imagination of man. The real act of becoming takes place within our imagination and not outside of us and not in the 3D reality. We are the cause of what is going on outside of us. And therefore, Neville says this, test yourself. Even if it's out of curiosity, there is no fiction because our imagination fulfills itself. Whatever is going on in our lives is what we have created. Even Einstein said, I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. When you become curious and when you take the law of assumption and you decide that it is something you're going to test for yourself, you will be amazed at what can come about. Give up that your imagination is just a flight of fancy. Give up that you think your imagination is something that is trivial. Give up the thinking that your imagination is silly or that it's only for kids. You, in fact, possess a great power within. For this week and next week, we will see how EOL Jr. gets lost in his own metamorphosis initially. He tests the law, and when he achieved what he initially desired, he gets so caught up in what he's created that he forgets about the law. He forgets about the practices for a whole year. And then, like so many people, he finds himself stuck and he's not enjoying where he's at in life. And so he applies the steps from the book Out of This World. But fortunately, he remembers this. There are 3 steps to follow, which I'll be talking about. You can go and look at my other videos on Out of This World, where I talk the steps in more detail, and I also give you examples. But for the sake of continuity, I will talk about those 3 steps in this video. Neville says that people have a habit of slighting the importance of simple things. He says people have a habit of trivializing, downplaying, making it less important if it's something simple. But the simple formula that he has shared with us in his many lectures and books for changing the future was discovered after years of searching and experimenting. He also says that faith is an experiment which ends as an experience. So experiment by believing you already have all that you desire. and you will have that experience. So for 1 year, EOL Jr. forgot about all that nonsense that he had studied and what he had seen in the book Out of This World and what he had applied. So he goes back and he rereads Out of This World. I have a video that I will be posting next week on the actual case study. I'm going to encourage you to listen to that video so that you can understand the case study in more fullness. EOL Jr. says he was a mildly successful dance instructor whose desire was for success. And then he reads Out of This World, but he was still unconvinced about the law. When he reads Out of This World, he then decides to test the law because he had nothing to lose. And he goes from being an instructor to owning his own franchise, an Arthur Murray studio. A year later, when he is feeling stuck, he remembers the teachings and applies them again, but this time with a lot more faith, and he knows that his success is a given. I want to bring to your attention, the Law and the Promise was written in 1961. The reason these case studies are so phenomenal for what people achieved in that era and that space of time. Tune in next week to find out what happens and how this unfolds for EOL Jr. I'm going to take you through the steps so that you are familiar with how to apply these steps by the time you watch next week's video on the case study. Now, step 1 is a very important step in terms of changing your future, and that is to know what you desire. You must define your objective. Now, this is where Neville's work starts to become very multi-layered. To define your objective, I suggest you go to my video on the 4 mighty ones. I'll link that in here. In the 4 mighty ones, there are 4 aspects or roles that reside within us, and it is for you to now apply these roles so that you can define your desire and know what it is that you are wanting to have as your end, which is very, very important. When you know definitely what you want, you can then look at what your desired end is. What is that end state of the wish fulfilled? If it is money that you wish to have in your life, it is not about the money. It is about how you're going to feel when you have that money. It is how you're going to feel when you have the wealth or the riches. So always, always look at how will you feel when you've achieved that desire. Step 2. Construct an event which you believe and you know you would totally encounter following the manifestation of your desire. Now, this event must imply the fulfillment of your desire. For example, if you wish to manifest a partner, what would be something that you would naturally do together with your partner? Take, for example, you move into a new house together and you now go out shopping for furniture. You'd be out shopping at a department store and you'd be choosing furniture and decor. Now, it's not just the act of shopping. It is how you would feel when you are shopping together with your partner. What are some of the things that you would be speaking about? What would you hear? Would she be saying to you, oh, that's my favorite color. We must take these for the bedroom. Or would you be saying, I love that painting. I see that painting could have a space above the fireplace. That's what you must focus on, is the feeling that you would have when you are doing something together with your partner that says you are married, that they are your husband or they're your wife. The same would apply for if you want to manifest money. It is not the money that you're going to be manifesting. You'll bring about a state where you were able to make that amazing purchase. And by making that purchase, it implies that you have the money. Now, how would you feel when you've made the purchase? That's what you've got to bring in. For example, you could say to your husband, wow, I love my new car. You're not trying to manifest. You're not going to go and manifest the money to buy the car. What you're going to manifest is having that feeling, I've just bought this new car. Your imaginal act is the action you would take when your desire is fulfilled. Step 3, you're now going into reprogramming the subconscious with step 3. It is very, very important that you do this part. You must immobilize the physical body, which means that you must go into the theta state, which is the state that we achieve in meditation. Please watch my video on how to practice SATs if you are not familiar with it. You immobilize the physical body, which means you induce a condition akin to sleep. This is called SATs. If you're not familiar with Neville's work, please watch my video on how to practice SATs, how to drop into the state akin to sleep. You must either lie on a bed or relax in a chair and imagine that you are sleepy. If you don't know how to induce the state akin to sleep, then with your eyelids closed and your attention being focused on your desired action. You have your desire, but what is the action that you would be taking that says you already have manifested this desire? For example, in the state of an SP, if you chose that your imaginal act is going to be shopping with your partner, that is what you're going to be focused on, but you're going to bring in the feeling state, the feeling of how you'd feel. Would it be excitement? Would it be joy into your partner? Oh, that shopping trip was amazing. Bring in the thing that most feels natural for you. So in imagination, you're going to mentally feel yourself in the proposed action. You are imagining all the time that you are actually performing that action, which maybe in the future, you're actually performing it right here and now. And you're going to perform this, you're going to do step 3, 2 to 3 times a day. Definitely in the morning when you're coming out of sleep. It's when you're in the drowsy state. Try and do this maybe around lunchtime. Spend 2 to 3 minutes on it, where you drop into the state, and as you go into the drowsy state, you bring into your mind's eye that short scene that you put together, which says, I have my desire and I'm now living as the person who has the desire. Remember to keep it natural, you keep it simple, and you keep it implied, which says, I am already the person who has this desire. So some of the other things to keep in mind is that how long should you practice this? It's going to be up to you. For as long as it takes on the tones of reality, which means it's going to be different for everybody. To have the tones of reality is going to be that you have become the person who isn't feeling like their desire is still far away from them. They're already embodying it. They already have become the person. In imagination, they are that person who either is married, who is wealthy, or who has that, who owns their own business. When you put all of this together, I welcome you to walk right into your dream life. You're going to see in next week's video, in terms of the case study, how EOL Jr. did this particular practice and how he actually achieved his desires within 3 weeks. So please leave your comments below in terms of what insight or teachings have you gained from this week's video. So that was this week's teaching from There Is No Fiction, Chapter 4 from The Law and the Promise. And the case study that goes along with this is the case study of EOL Jr., who goes from being a dance instructor to becoming a business owner. So next week's video is going to take you into the case study. Thank you for joining me in this week's video. My name is Fazila Bijo. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I will see you in the next video.